see
Okay,
their
well,
run
okay,
this year.
Brian. I knew Bam was going to
No, no,
score
you do see.
83.
No,
I
oh,
I
I
knew
thought you were
knew.
talking
Arizona
about
was
his.
going to be
You're
great.
watching Knowledge, your source for everything NFL and college
Welcome
football.
back to Knowledge. We're here coming to you from March now. No football content right now. We're changing things up a little bit. Had to cover, about the biggest sporting day of the year coming up here, right? With March Madness. We
Arguably.
all we all love college basketball and have been paying lot of attention to this year. I think we were about the most that I've been tuned into a lot of everything going on, right? And last year I would say was pretty disappointing for the tournament overall, in terms of what we love and expect.
Chalk Madness.
We had great
Bit of a
matchups,
chalk
great
fest.
games, but yeah, it was chalk madness, chalk
We got
sanity.
Iowa back this year though.
We do have Iowa back. We'll get into that.
Hey,
Yeah, I don't know. We'll get into that. We got the Aggies in the tournament here too. We'll see how that goes for them. But we're not gonna bore you all with going through every single bracket pick we have. That would kind of suck, to be honest.
I'll be taking Arizona over Long Island.
Yeah, because
wait, really?
really, no way. Um,
Gotta say it.
But really, with March Madness, I think it's important to note that who knows what the heck's going to happen. All three of these will probably be busted by like the second round.
Bro, mine might
So,
make it through the first game. Ohio State TCU is so hard to predict, and that's the first game, bro. It's gonna break like half of all brackets
so
That's why
yeah,
you make
instantly.
25 brackets so that you're
Oh my
prepared for
gosh,
stuff like
no,
that.
you're one of
no
those
way,
people.
man.
You got to be prepared.
So who knows what's going to happen, really? So don't take any of this with absolute gospel truth. This is just kind of some fun takes we have. Like, I mean, I, for example, didn't want to be a sheep and just chalk everything, so I just picked some pretty wild upsets just to be fun. Um, but we'll just go through some kind of there'll be hopefully you can sift through all the chaos and find some little grain of knowledge in there, right?
Knowledge is in
So
it.
that's right.
Mm.
So now let's get started. What we're going to do here is we're just going to go through each. I'm going to go through each of us, and we're just going to say kind of one of the big takes we have from either the first round or just from the tournament as a whole. And then we'll close out with listing what we think our final four and champs will be in advance here. Okay. So let's start off with you, Charlie. What's one take you have about the first round here?
First round, well, this is kind of first two rounds, but first round, Iowa shocks the world and beats Clemson. And then we shock the world again and we beat Florida.
That would be shocking the world. I'd lose my mind.
Hockey in the
So,
world, isn't that the most pick upset? Them beating Clemson, like
yeah, that's not really an upset. I
Pick
It
mean,
the
doesn't even feel
favorite.
like an upset, really. That feels like about an even game.
Clemson had the
Um,
early exit last year against McNeese.
yep.
Injury, Carter Welling got injured. Second leading scorer. So we're going to be good. I mean, we're a defense team. Ben McCollum, he won first round last year. He has it in his
Yeah,
DNA.
it's going to be close and nasty. The thing that's important to note about Iowa is what we've really struggled with past couple weeks and really throughout the season is slow starts. Okay, so we've started many times down, 15-3 and stuff like that to start off the game, and it's basically we have to spend the entire first half clawing back. So. In the few bright spots wins we've had, Maryland, for example, we were able to recover pretty quickly. Um,
Maryland's awful.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
that's
That's what
bright
I'm
spot and win against
come
Maryland is
on.
crazy,
Come
but
on.
Wait,
we'll
you're the
take
one who
it.
picked them to go beat Florida, not me, man.
Bright
Yeah,
spots.
no.
Um,
So I gotta go against that too, man. Against my better judgment, I will take Iowa to beat
I'm
Clemson.
gonna take us to
I
beat
normally
Clemson
always
too.
want to pick
Shouldn't,
against
but
them in the
will.
tournament because I don't trust them, but Clemson also a very slow-paced team, so this is gonna be like maybe a most teams might score around like 60
45
points,
to
like
43
it's gonna
final
be an ugly
score.
game, but that pace probably benefits Iowa more than it does Clemson.
Yeah.
So I like that pick. As far as, Florida, they're easily the most beatable of the one seeds, obviously. And they didn't even finish the SEC tournament. So it's like, yes, there's more room there, but I personally think they're gonna lose there. I respect the upset, Chuck, but it might be a little homer take there.
Just wait, bro. Just wait.
Yeah, we the lower score, more lower scoring, more nastier it gets, the better we are. Of course, anything can happen for us, I think, if you have an insane game out of Bennett Sturts. If he
Yeah, high
scores
ceiling, I suppose.
if he goes crazy, which he really hasn't recently, actually, which was an interesting thing to note.
It's because he's waiting till March. He's a
Let's hope
March
so.
player.
Let's hope so. Unless it's against Ohio State, right? But if he has a great game, then we'll be just fine. If he has, 25, 30 points, I don't think there's much to worry about. But if he scores, less sub 20, then it's going to require the rest of our team to pick things up, and that can be a problem. because everyone else is mostly just stands around hoping Bennett Sturts will do something. So we'll
Cooper
see what
Koch
happens.
coming in the clutch.
Cooper Koch has been pretty
Good
good.
Koch season.
And
Mhm.
I've actually kind of been a hater
Better
on him for most of the
recently.
season.
Better recently.
Felt a little bad recently for it because he's been good. But we'll see what happens with them. I have us beating
Um,
Clemson, and nothing more after that. I think beat Clemson, then get killed by Florida. Um, but who knows what happens, right? So, all right, James, let's hear a hot take from you.
yeah, most of mine I just wrote down a lot of my upsets.
Mhm.
First one I got here is I have U and I over St. John's.
Ooh, all
And
right.
don't get me wrong, I like U and I and
Crazy.
all, but this is less. I really just don't trust St. John's. I
St.
thought the
John's
Big
looking pretty
East.
hot against
They
I
look
thought
pretty
the
dang
Big
UConn.
East
Looked
good,
was
pretty good.
man.
pretty weak this year. I know they won it all, but I feel like that St. John's, like everyone's taking them to, beat U and I, and a lot of people haven't beat Kansas after they just went in and beat UConn.
Yeah.
And I think people are too high on them. I think U and I is hot right now. They're not actually that good of a team. They weren't supposed to make the tournament.
No, they
They
were about
still
the
are in that
sixth
Missouri
seed, I
Valley.
think, in Missouri Valley,
Yeah,
sixth seed.
so but they've been and recently they've been playing good as long as and that's what March is all about is like you don't need to be a good team, you just got to play one good game. And I
Man,
think they got potential here. I think it could be a really fun one, so I got them upset.
St. John's just whooped UConn, though. I mean, who knows? Maybe just
But you
one
see, I'm
game.
not that big on UConn either
Yeah,
this year. That's the thing. It's
suppose
like,
so.
UConn will lock in.
we'll see.
I hope not. They're about one of the more
That
unlikable teams
East is
out there, to be
a
honest.
bloodbath. That whole side
Nah,
of the bracket.
Dan
So
Hurley's a good coach. He knows what he's talking about.
He's a total good coach. He's also a very unlikable coach, but he's a very good coach. Don't
Maybe.
get me wrong there.
bro, that UConn UCLA game, the
Yeah.
coach is gonna be going at it.
Um, all right. Well, I'll keep it rolling here. I'm gonna go with see, I have a few picks that don't even sound original, like picking VCU over North Carolina, but it's just everyone's picking them now. It feels like that's almost not like being very inventive, saying stuff like that. I haven't been too impressed with North Carolina. So I'll go at something else. I got Wisconsin. This is continuing on from the first round, but Wisconsin beats Arkansas and beats Arizona. Okay, key big things there. Wisconsin beats Arizona. Really, I'm super high on both Wisconsin and Arkansas. I think both of them are great, and I think whichever team wins that game um, will upset Arizona. And then, by extension, makes the Final Four. All right. Told you my bracket would be full of crazy
Okay.
upsets. We're gonna make it fun.
Mhm.
So I've been actually really high on Wisconsin this season. They've been ups and downs. Early on, lost to a bunch of crappy teams, but you look at they've essentially any good team in the Big Ten, they've beaten them. And the Big Ten has, just about the toughest conference this year. They've beat Michigan, and then they took them right down to the wire
Mhm.
again. And you could argue maybe should have beat them again. Purdue beat them. Illinois beat them twice, right? Michigan State beat them. So you know they can play with anybody, right? I've been impressed with them, with their offense especially, including when they played Iowa and kind of whooped them in the second half, scored nonstop. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm pretty high in Wisconsin, and which means they'll probably lose to High Point starting off the tournament.
Yeah, who will at High Point? There's always these random teams in there that sneak in.
It is the
High
dread
Point beat Wisconsin one of the other years, didn't
It
they?
is
Isn't
the
that
dreaded
right?
12. It is the dread
Queens
twelve
too.
five matchup. Let's make that clear. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's like always at least one 12-5 upset. So you kind of got to
gotta
have
be.
one in your bracket.
Mhm.
High Point over Wisconsin is one of those trendy ones that a lot of people
I've seen
have.
some people,
Never
yeah,
go
that,
with the
And
trends,
yeah,
bro. The
that's what I was gonna say.
trends
That is
don't
one of the
happen.
trendy ones that I gotta avoid.
yeah.
Now, I see the reasoning behind it because Wisconsin is one of those teams they kind of play down to their ability. They have some of the best wins in the Big Ten and some of the worst losses too. So
Yeah.
they could totally, lose to High Point. But right here, it's like I think they have that one, and then obviously that Arkansas game is gonna be key. I have them beating Arkansas as well, but they run into the unfortunate buzzsaw that is Arizona. If they're in any other bracket, I could see a Final Four run like you, Owen, but got to disagree there.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep rolling. You got another take for us, Charlie?
Yeah, so some upsets, some major upsets. Akron over Texas Tech.
Bro, that's
Troy
another
over
trendy one.
Nebraska.
Oh, Troy over
Troy over
Nebraska would be
Nebraska is kind of a
so
homer
Troy,
one
funny.
Troy,
too.
Would be
yes.
so funny,
That's kind of a
please.
homer. The
Yeah,
Athens
yeah.
one, there's extra reason behind that. Ever since JT Toppin got injured,
Injured,
Tech
yeah.
Stack hasn't been as good. Yeah, smallest favorite, only 7.5 point favorite for the
Yeah,
five.
and
Smallest
I've actually
favorite.
seen Akron being kind of a trendy Sweet
So
16 team.
okay, it's not happening then. If it's
Yeah.
trendy, it's not happening. But I'm
Well,
still
It's
excited.
oh,
it's
see,
a
that's
little
the
trendy
thing.
there.
I'm worried
I
about
think
that.
that's a very reasonable side. Like both people have, Alabama is a very big team that could get upset as well as Tech without Toppin. I'll take Tech still over Akron, but I do agree with Chuck on the Troy over
Yeah,
Nebraska.
Troy's gonna shock the world.
They have yet to
Nebraska
win
can't get the
a
first
single
win.
tournament game yet. So even if Troy probably loses, I gotta pick this one. It's just fun.
that's gotta be in their heads too, right? If the game gets like
Yeah.
going really bad second half, they're like, we can't do it, guys. It's the Penn State in football. Can't win the game in the big moment.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, well, let's keep it going. James, you got another take for us here?
Let's see. I got Mizzou over Miami.
Hmm.
Miami didn't impress me that much. They're a decent team, but Mizzou, I feel like if they play a good game to the best of their abilities, they have a little bit higher ceiling now. They don't really have any room to get out of that after because, they play Purdue, who I feel like is very upsettable, but I don't see Missouri. But I think they can handle Miami. They just gotta keep their turnovers in check. That's kind of what's been their problem in SEC play.
Yeah.
But I think that's a pretty reasonable 7-10 game. The other ones actually I would say are less likely to be upsets. So
Yeah. All right, good. And yeah, Santa Clara, I got over Kentucky. Well, feels unoriginal, right?
mhm.
Well, 10-7 upset. I
Figure
got
I'd throw that out, a little casual
some
10-7.
people picking A&M. I got St.
I
Mary's.
got A&M, another 10-7. I got A&M there. But
Yeah,
I think I'm
I
alone in that,
mean,
right?
dude,
Having a little faith.
I think you're the only one that has A&M. My point on that would be St. Mary's, they kind of normally flame out in March, depending, even if they, had a pretty good regular season. But St. Mary's is a really tough draw for this A&M team.
Yeah, it was
A&M,
a bit,
if they play a good game, once again, a really high ceiling with this, high scoring, buckyball offense. But it's like St. Mary's just a really tall team is kind of their biggest problem for
it's
A&M.
never
And
good.
A&M has not won any of those games this year over tall teams because they have no height. So I think they're just gonna have trouble and get bullied in the paint probably. So I don't see them winning that, but it is a respectable upset because I think if they win that, they got a decent chance at Houston even.
You think so?
They
I
played
will
Houston good
actually,
last time.
I will actually agree with Santa Clara over Kentucky. I've been 50-50 on that one because it's so popular. But Kentucky, man, I know they're such a, expensive
Yeah.
roster, but they're not all together. There's no consistency there. So they play a bad game and that could easily be a loss.
We'll bring it back to A&M. The thing is, if they can just keep up just scoring so much like they have been, I don't know if St. Mary's can
Well,
keep up with that.
yeah, I
You
mean,
know?
A&M,
Averaging
started out
averaging
SEC play amazing
87.7 points per game here,
with
11th in the nation.
great
Pretty freaking
3-point shooting,
awesome.
and then they had an atrocious February stretch. March, they looked a little better, beat Kentucky pretty bad at home, but it's just in the SEC tournament didn't look too good. It's all a couple key players like Ruben Dominguez, how well they shoot, maybe Zach Clements. I think Rashawn Ag is going to be big in that game because he's kind of been the only consistent guy for us. It's really just are they hitting from three? It's like you
Yeah.
said with Iowa. If they get out to a bad start, everything's going to go downhill. They got to start well. Same thing. Pop Isaacs, him coming off the bench probably. If he can play well, that's going to be key to that game. I think it's going to be a good one regardless. But I gotta battered Aggie syndrome tells me I cannot take this upset here.
Yeah. Well, let's go to what I think is a very, very interesting one here. That's not super trendy, but I actually have a decent feeling about this. I want to talk about UConn, okay? Right? So
Hmm.
UConn's
UConn,
not gonna lose early.
you wouldn't think, right? I mean, you just due to their recent history in the tournament, Dan Hurley, I mean, they know exactly what to do come
He's the
tournament
best coach
time.
in college basketball.
I'd agree right now. I'd probably agree with you.
Probably
But
should have left for the NBA at this point.
yeah, I
Yeah.
want to talk about a shocker that I think could occur early on. Maybe one of the biggest shockers we'll see early on over round two here. I want to talk about UCLA upsetting UConn in round
Nope.
two.
Biggest shocker is gonna be Iowa beating Florida.
You try to say nope
Only
like
one
that's got
seed
no
is going
chance, then you
down.
said something that's
Only
like
one
10
seed is
times
going
10
down.
times more unlikely. I mean, UCLA, I think, has come on in the second half to be a pretty strong team this season, with wins over Illinois, Nebraska, and Michigan State. I really like how they've been playing recently. I think they're great. Great in assists, not too great in rebounds or points per game, but then again, UConn has been showing, I think, a lot of cracks recently too in the tournament. And maybe I'm reading too much into it, but the Big East has been pretty rough this year, I think, in terms of competition. And I think the Big Ten has been really tough. So hopefully, we're seeing with a lot of these Big Ten teams, maybe a lot more battle tested than we think.
Hey,
And I
that's
think
what they said in 2021, though.
so. This said in 21. But who knows? I think that could have been more of an anomaly than the trend. But yeah, we'll
Yeah,
see
no,
what
I
happens.
agree with that. I mean, I always talked about the Big East earlier. I don't trust UConn that much. They just don't have quite the same resume this year. They look more shaky. And UCLA is a team I'm fairly optimistic about, you know. I think they got a really good chance to beat them in the round of 32. I actually, if anything, I would say UCF, I think, gives UCLA more trouble than UConn does. I think there's more chance they lose in the first round. And if they don't
Yeah,
lose in the first round, I think they're
One of
both
those,
that's
one of
just
undefeated.
those.
that's just that's
We
just
are
not
okay. We are probably.
Hey,
This
it's a hot
reminds me.
take,
We
but
are probably going to have one of those almost like some team like barely survives a game against a low ranked one and then just goes on to just dominate later on.
yeah.
That's guaranteed to happen, right? Every time.
yes.
All right. Well, let's move it on. You got
That's gonna be Vandy.
yeah, you got any more? Tell us about Vandy then.
I'll save it for when we talk about the Final Four.
All right, you got any more for
But
us
they're
in
gonna beat
or
Iowa in the Sweet 16.
got anything more for us in the
Oh,
early
so
rounds here?
Iowa is beatable. Okay, Charles.
Not a huge upset. I have Bama over Michigan.
Yeah.
I know. A lot of people have been saying this, but Michigan's been showing cracks ever since Kaysen got
Yeah,
injured.
I was gonna wait to talk about
Yeah,
Michigan later, but we can just do that now.
yeah. Well, I have them losing kind of early in the Sweet 16. Bama. I mean, they don't play any defense, but in a one game, like one off game, first to like
Exactly.
95, they can beat Michigan.
I was close to picking Bama over Michigan. I had Michigan surviving there and then actually losing to Virginia in the Elite Eight there. But Michigan has not been the same team really since I don't think not quite the same since the LJ case and injury. I mean, you look at their later games to close out the season. Barely struggle survive against Iowa. Have a close win against Michigan State. That's good rivalry. They probably got up for that big time. Ohio State, kind of really close game, okay? And Wisconsin, really freaking close. And then Purdue, they get whooped in the second half
They
of
look they
that.
look bad against Purdue.
Yeah, I mean, really, these last five or so games, they've has been either a close win or just in Purdue's case, a loss. It hasn't been that early season just absolute dominance that we've seen, and I think that's a concerning trend to see, and so that's why it's not has me hesitating more on Michigan this season, even with all the hype, right? So I have them making it quite a bit, but I could totally see a Bama loss, and then I did end up picking a loss in the next round to Virginia. But yeah, you're right. If Bama plays their absolute best game, is scoring like crazy, I think they could totally beat Michigan.
Yeah, man. Bama is lit. It's gonna be feast or famine with their play style,
That's right, of
probably.
course.
I know a lot more people have been picking that Hofstra upset recently though, because they lost well allegedly. I don't actually
No,
I'm
one of their
honestly
players is
not
like
sure.
2 pounds, like of
Yeah,
like drugs or something.
Aiden
Like,
Holloway
yeah,
had like 2 pounds of marijuana he got arrested
That's
week in the
for, and
game too.
crazy.
I don't
Crazy.
know if he's playing, but he was one of their top scorers or at least top players,
That's
by
it's fine. We'll
minutes,
dial
right?
in.
So that could affect things, even if not in that first game, but later on. I don't know. We'll see. But to round out mine, I did also. I know Owen brought it up earlier. I have VCU over North Carolina. I don't think it's kind of a popular one right now, but I think it's pretty possible. VCU obviously coming out on top of their conference. One hot take I have, I would say, is I have every 9 seed winning,
Hmm.
which is pretty honestly, that's probably
Ohio
more
State winning
unlikely.
that.
That's probably more unlikely than most upsets I
You
have
got
really
you got
when you
SLU
think of the
over Georgia.
odds. But yeah, because I mean, you think about it, and 8-9 most toss-up game, but the 9 seed actually technically wins more often than the 8 seeds.
Hmm.
But
Good
for all of them
trend.
to win, that'd be pretty tough. But I like TCU a lot. TCU and Ohio State probably the hardest one to pick for
Yeah.
me.
for sure.
Utah State, I definitely have them over Villanova. And then Georgia, SLU. Georgia is a pretty good, also once again high scoring team from the SEC, but I like what I've seen out of SLU. And yeah, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, of course, back in March. So we'll
Yeah.
see what he can do. And then, of course, Iowa. A lot of people are picking Iowa. I don't think I've
Everyone's
seen
picking
anyone with
Iowa.
Clemson in the
No,
brackets
yeah.
yet. So
All right, now, yeah.
Let's go to the Final Four.
Let's move it on to the Final Four. So I'm gonna go through and say your four picks, and then you don't have to say just say who wins in the national title over who. In your idea here, who, and you can say a little bit about
pretty
each game if
basic.
you want, but let's hear your chalk picks.
This is very chalk. So I got East, Duke over MSU. Okay.
Ooh.
South, this is my kind of surprise one. Vandy over Houston because Florida's already gone. We beat them. They're gone. West, Arizona over Purdue. Chalk. Midwest, Iowa State over Bama. Iowa State, I hate them. They're a good team. They're in the trapezoid excellence. Great offense.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
great
telling.
offense. Great defense. National title. Duke over Arizona. It's gonna happen.
Gosh, that'd be so depressing. I mean, it'd be a great game.
They're just so much better than
depressing
everyone else.
in terms of the chaos. All right.
Let's see. I got the same in the East as Chuck. Duke over MSU. So no 2 seed UConn, but still, pretty good teams there. They always seem to be in each other's side of the bracket. So now South once again changing it up a bit. I have Illinois over Vanderbilt to make the Final Four.
Okay.
I think Illinois is a sneaky team.
They got good
Yeah, they
height.
could lose her, but they got a lot of height.
The power of the former communist
Florida
states will help Illinois.
I think Florida loses to Vanderbilt like they did in the SEC championship again, and that makes it at least slightly easier for Illinois to make that run. Obviously, the biggest thing they got to get through is Houston, a very tough 2 seed.
Yeah.
In the West, I got Arizona over Gonzaga. I'm not trustworthy with Purdue.
I'm surprised Purdue got it too. That was
They could get things together, but they've been really shaky. They once again have really good wins, but they've had some bad losses, I feel like. And Gonzaga is a pretty tested team. I'm not crazy high on them, but when it comes to beating Purdue as their 2 seed, I think that's probably the best draw they could have gotten there. And then in the Midwest region, I'm going to stick with Michigan and Iowa State as well. Like Charlie said, trapezoid excellence. I guess get some Ryan Hammer metrics in there. They're both good teams. Iowa State, I don't think they're insane, but they got a really good route here. I mean, I don't think Tennessee or Virginia or any of them are going to give them trouble until they get to Michigan. So I'm pretty confident in that side.
Yeah.
And then for my championship, same thing as Charlie, Duke and Arizona, but I have Zona winning on this one. So winning the first title for basically the west side of the U.S. since Arizona won it last time in '98 or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, Arizona is the only team, and I know it's a popular pick, but it's I singled them out, picked them as my title winner halfway through the season. I was like, dude, this team is impressive. So I'm really looking forward to see.
Okay, Brian. I knew Bam was going to.
No, you do see. No,
I knew Arizona was going to be great.
I thought you were talking about his kid, bro. Do you see in the Big 12 championship, he took off his jersey at the end?
Yeah,
looked
bro,
like he
Bryce
played. Yeah, Bryce is he took off his old jumpsuit. He's like, oh, bro,
I singled Arizona out when they were ranked number 1 midseason. That this team might have what it takes. They just
I singled Indiana out back when they were still 3-9. I picked them to win the national.
I told my bro, man, that iceberg next to Titanic, is brother was there. All right, Owen, what do you have?
All right, so I'll preface this with I picked an insane amount of upsets, and I was kind of thinking while I was recording, I was like, I kind of pick a lot of upsets. I always do in the tournaments just to have a desire for, chaos and fun. And there's been a lot said about college basketball now. How is the game changing? Wow, where the March Madness is just going to be more dominant teams winning with the new rules of transfers and NIL and everything. And so I'm seeing this is my last chance. If we don't have a ton of good upsets this year, or at least some. If it's just another 1 seeds dominate, then that's it. I'll just pick chalk every bracket afterward. I mean, 'cause it's just depressing. If it's just Duke, Arizona, Florida, and Michigan, it's gonna suck, to be honest.
Last year was sort of last year was rare. It's
let's hope
not
so.
bad.
So I'm gonna go with one more picks of chaos here, and we're gonna see how it turns out. So a lot of mine aren't chaos if you actually look. I basically have all the top teams making it to the Elite Eight, but then the opposite's kind of winning most of those times, right? So I got in the East here, I got Michigan State beating Duke. Now, I feel like every year I've picked Michigan State till I'm saying this
So
is Izzo's really this is his
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Finally, he's going to get the team that brings him back to the Final Four. I've said that for like the past 3 or 4 years.
They seem to have like a ceiling. They have an Elite
They
Eight
do. They do
ceiling.
seem to have a hard Elite Eight ceiling, and that's
Yeah.
what troubles me here. But they did play Duke, and I'm hoping they can get around and get revenge this time and make it to the Final Four. And then the West is kind of where I have the chaos bracket. I have Wisconsin beating Purdue here, just because Wisconsin beats Arizona, and I think they get revenge for losing close to Purdue in their last time they played in the season. So I got them moving on here. South is I do have Florida winning that. Florida, despite the Vanderbilt loss, has looked really strong the second half of the season. I've liked what I've seen there. So I'm still feeling pretty confident in them. Florida beating Houston to make it forward there. And just moving over to the Midwest, I have Michigan making it over to the Elite Eight, but then I have Virginia actually beating them. Again, Virginia, I've liked they've seemed pretty balanced um, on offense and defense both in the top 100 points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, everything, and points allowed is pretty dang low. And they really impressed me with the Duke game, despite the close ending of it, which kind of
Yeah.
sucked. They just got made make a few more free throws, man, then you're good. But
sure.
no, so I have Virginia making it forward there, and then in my national championship, I have Florida repeating over Virginia. So Florida, I picked them to win last year. I will say that in the LeBron style. I did pick Florida.
Oh, all right, Brian.
No, I did pick Florida to win the
Old
title,
believer.
and worked out pretty well for me. So I'm just gonna go with that again, and we'll see what happens, right? So yeah, well that'll do it for this episode. We might convene later again to get some
Next
Yeah,
video
rebound
we're gonna
might be
Final
come
hot
Four
back and
takes,
picks.
they're
It
all
might
gonna
be
be
hot
wrong.
takes. Might be next
Everything's
one.
gonna be
Oh,
horrible.
all
Everything's
these
gonna be horrible.
everyone
This
on
is
this
gonna be so
bracket gonna be
bad. Like
wrong.
this
So
video will be useless in like
Yeah.
a week already.
I was gonna lose first round. I got a feeling.
I will lose this
it's both
first
your
round.
brackets are
Nebraska
gonna
makes the
break
Final
first
Four.
Nebraska
and
makes the Final
TCU.
Four. Michigan wins the title. I mean, everything. Who knows
Yeah.
what'll happen? But yeah, it's gonna be some awesome freaking days of sports. I'm super hyped for it, and let's see what happens then. All right.